Yes, yes, yes. How you guys doing tonight? My name is Matt Crane at I am Matt Crane across the board on all social media channels. And you know it. It's the Power of Great podcast. Your host. And I tell you what, I'm so excited because yet again, we got my man Ebong Eka in the building. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, you know your boy's going to bring the fire. You know I'm going to spit the flames. But if there was ever a single person on planet Earth that could match the intensity, that has so much drive, passion, and determination, not just to grow where he wants to go, but to help people get to where they truly need to be in life. I'm going to tell you right now, Ebong Eka is one of the realest in the game today. And I tell you what, I'm excited to have him right here on the Power of Great podcast. My man, Ebong Eka, what's going on, my friend?
What's going on, Matt Crane? I really appreciate you having me, man. This is I'm always humbled that people want to take the time to listen to me and spend time talking to me. So I'm more than happy to be with you and your guest tonight.
Well, man, we're going to dive right into it. You know, Ebong, I've been following you for such a long time. And, you know, it was such an instantaneous bond, such an instantaneous appreciation for the content. And, you know, that people say all the time, you're my brother from another mother. But, man, like, I truly believe that in my heart of hearts. You know, we've never met in person, but yet it's like we just understand one another. There's so much drive and passion. And you know, so kind of walk me through, Ebong Eka today and what's really been that one motivating thing that continues to push you every single day.
That's a very good question. I've never been asked that before. And for a quick second, I was at a loss for words. But the thing that motivates me is trying to achieve my potential. And I know everybody and also trying to live in my purpose. So the reason I say that is this: there are a lot of people who are going through life. Some of the people who are watching, some of you may even know people, and they don't have a sense of purpose to their lives. So the reason why that's important to me is because we're all going to hit a roadblock and hit problems. And if I don't have a purpose that's bigger than me, greater than me, I'm gonna fall by the wayside. I'm gonna be blown around by the wind like a leaf, right? Like a loose piece of sand. And the difference is there are people who are like bricks. You know, if you meet them, someone like you yourself, Matt, we know a lot of people who are literally bricks in life. So you leave them outside and come back to them next week, that brick will remain there. But if I left a leaf in front of your doorstep and came back tomorrow, it most likely will be gone. And so if you don't have a sense of purpose, there's no density to who you are and what you do. And you end up, being blown about. Your emotions carry you everywhere. So to answer the question in a long form, what motivates me, what moves me is the fact that I have a purpose every single day to live and to act and to give out there in the marketplace.
Guys, one thing that I love about Ebong is that he always incorporates such visual aids in what he does, And so one thing that I really want you guys to get from someone like Ebong Eka is that there's consultants in the world, there's entrepreneurs in the world, and then there's what I call the all-around, business person. And you have to have a level of storytelling abilities. And that truly lets me know that as Ebong is walking his journey, he's always remembering his path. And that's so important for me. And I know that for many of us, we call that our why factor. But what I wanted you guys to hear out of that is he said it's like a leaf at your doorstep. It's not guaranteed to stay there. So, it's like the wind, right? And your job right now, your entrepreneurship journey is a leaf. And it's hanging on by a thread, whether you believe it or whether you think it. It's hanging on by a thread, and the wind that's coming is that next Mark Zuckerberg that's sitting in his garage right now, or that next Matt Crane or next Ebong Eka. So, Ebong, you have an amazing history behind it. I mean, being a person that just recently got their citizenship here in the United States, but more importantly, a very educated and driven person. Not only in the business field, but you had a mission to want to play professional basketball.
Yep.
And so kind of talk to us, what was the driving force behind that professional basketball aspiration? And what has it really been able to do for you where you currently are right now?
That's a great question. I've always had a desire and a dream to play professional basketball since I was 12 years old. But I also I was also objective. And so and I think what a lot of people miss is the importance of being objective, like knowing your strengths, knowing your skills. I knew at 12 that I wasn't necessarily an NBA player. I was still growing, but I wasn't at the level I needed to be, not only skill-wise, but also height and body-wise. But I also knew that it was possible to go play professionally overseas. So since I was 12, 13 years old, after going to college and graduating, I made a commitment. And, Tony Robbins says this a lot. A lot of people say this. There's an old story about burning the ships. So when I was about to graduate, I literally burnt the ships. Well, in my undergrad degree is accounting. While everybody was out there, all my colleagues were interviewing for jobs, getting full-time jobs. I was a janitor. I was a janitor all through college, to make money. But after that, I went basically full-time. I worked from the evening. I cleaned office buildings. I worked from the evening, 5, 6 o'clock p.m. to about midnight, and I came home, and then I'd make phone calls from 12 to 3 to teams overseas in Europe every single 5, 6 days a week, sending tapes, sending everything else. My phone bill was $1,000 a month. But the thing I realized was this: if I don't commit to this now, the dream I had 10 years ago or so was never going to come to fruition. I knew that if I kept doing what I was doing, it didn't work out. I think I would have been okay with that result because it was out of my hands, right? And so I got so many no's for most of my life, and we all do. You're gonna get no's your whole damn life, and the difference is how persistent are you. So to answer the second part of your question, my ability to get this book deal and to have a bestseller and get it published overseas in Indonesia was predicated on my experiences in college, but also my experience to become a professional basketball player. And here's the reason why. Fast forward 10 years after playing basketball, for about 2.5 years, I was writing proposals and queries to literary agents and publishers. And I wanted to get a traditional book deal. And that's literally how it works. It makes it easier. You have a better chance if you get a literary agent to sign you, and then they go sell your proposal and pitch you to the big publishers. So the long story short was I spent 2.5 years writing and being told no by over 250, 260 different literary agents and publishers, only for one to say yes in May of 2000, I think it was May of 2013. And so to answer the question, what I learned from that was I found out what the blueprint was to get there. And all I had to do, the only ingredient I had to enter was persistence and consistency and doing it on a regular basis in a massive way.
Yeah, I love that, and so for all of you that are listening live right now on our iTunes podcast, Podcast Republic, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, and for those of you that are in our live audience tonight, first of all, let me say thank you so very much. We've got my man, small business and entrepreneur expert, Business Weekly, top 15 entrepreneurs to listen to in the marketplace. So, guys, we didn't bring no rookie to the table. And you know what? I'm just honored to have him here. And Ebong, I wanted you to kind of elaborate. So would you say that that you having to cold call teams overseas ultimately was kind of a moment for you to realize you were either all in or you were all out?
I want to tell you this much. I don't care if you're cold calling for dollars, if you're cold calling to play basketball, if you're cold calling for donations, it sucks. It is hard. It is mind sucking. It drains your spirit. But back to what you said earlier, and I know, I want to bring back Matt into this because I remember seeing a snap probably a few weeks ago where you had a picture of your kids and you said, "This is my why," right? And so the thing is, your why has to be bigger than whatever you're doing because you won't do it. People like Grant always say, and I said this in my book too, but Grant always says things like, when value exceeds price, people give you money. And it's the same thing with making phone calls to hundreds of people and being told no in so many different languages, right? Being told no via email, being told no on the phone. But it's the same thing. But my why exceeded the effort or the output, right? So when you pay $100 for something, you believe the value of what you're receiving is greater, if not exponentially greater, or else you wouldn't part with the money. It's the same thing with your time and your energy. So for me, my why was bigger than that. And now I can apply that to something else that I really want to do. Like the time I feel procrastination is because either my why is not strong enough or I don't believe in what I'm doing strong enough for me to actually put in the effort. Plain and simple. Because if your back's against the wall and they're telling you you're about to die if you don't do X, Y, and Z, 95% of the people are going to do X, Y, and Z. Plain and simple. And you'd be surprised how far they can exceed where they currently are when they're being pushed and they have nowhere else to go.
You know, you're exactly right. And Ebong, it's funny because my why changed, 5 years ago. You know, my why before was, man, whatever, how much money could I make and how fast could I get there? And, 5 years ago when my first son was born, it all changed for me. And I realized at that moment that everything that I did prior to that moment was leading up to that moment. And either I was building a road of great character or I was building a road of decent character. But at the end of the day, price was never going to be a concern for me anymore because it was the value that it was going to bring to the overall good of my family. And, that kind of brings me to a point. You talked about price and you talked about value. I'm a firm believer that value is the only trump card that an entrepreneur should play in the marketplace. They should never try to discuss price. They should never try to talk about their product being superior or their delivery methods being better. They should literally show their value, and that's the only trump card that you need, right? Mm-hmm. And so I know that you have a product that you're really excited about, that you're working on right now in regards of price. So, first of all, tell our audience a little bit about that product as much as you can. I know there's some behind the scenes that you're still working on. And then I want you to also kind of talk with our audience. I'm going to ask you this question. I want to see if our audience kind of follows along or feels the same. Would you say that for most entrepreneurs or small business owners that are really straddling the fence on launching or having concerns with their product, that it's not necessarily price, but it's really the lack of confidence that they have in their service, goods, or product?
You actually, it's perfect. Like what you just said is exactly right. If you took away the only difference I'd make is taking away the question mark, because that's exactly what you just said. And that's exactly how people feel. Price is usually an indication of how you see yourself, right? It's akin to the clothes you wear. If you dress really well, maybe you feel great about what you're wearing. Like, and I'm not trying to take it to a level of superficiality, but what I want to say is the prices you charge for yourself, for your products, for your service is kind of a direct and sometimes indirect indication of how you see yourself in the marketplace. And to answer the first question, I'm gonna go back to the importance of the mindset. Is I have a free pricing guide that helps 3 proven strategies to help you set your price and raise them. And I just it's a bit.ly link. It's a freebie. It's like a 10-page guide where I plot some of my best strategies, and I even share with you an email template that you can share with your customers when you're telling them to raise your prices, and kind of what I've tested over time. Now, what's really important is the mindset. That's it. It's not about the price, especially in service space. So a lot of the entrepreneurs that we deal with and we work with, and the ones you see, man, people we know we're all in community with, majority of what they do is service based. There's some coaching, consulting, massage therapists, whatever you call it. And the biggest thing, the number one thing I always hear from them is, I never thought I could charge that much. I'm afraid to charge more money because I'm afraid what's going to happen, that my customers are going to be angry and leave me. If I give them a discount or I cut my prices, maybe they'll buy more. But then that goes to the deeper meaning of why people spend money. And the reality is, people don't spend money because of the price. They spend money because they have a problem they want to have solved, or they want a desired result. That's it. That's the only reason why we spend money. So understanding that idea of that concept of value and pricing and the duality, right, with it is important for you and your business.
And I love how you said that, take away the question mark, and it kind of leads me to my next question for you, Ebong, is that, as I work with people on different levels, as a consultant myself and a coach and trainer, I work more on the infrastructure from a business development side. Really I want to help procure the infrastructure people need to go out and truly be able to have that confidence in building their business and creating creating the success. And, I feel in my particular field and the niche market that I'm carving out, that it's the apologetic behavior that so many businesses start off with that really kind of kills any kind of momentum and creates insecurity in the marketplace. So, kind of walk us through, when you consult with clients, how you try to eliminate doubt. And I notice quite a bit that you're all about the don't question yourself and don't doubt yourself, but more importantly, never apologize for the price you're asking or the monetization you're wanting from your goods and services. Talk about just how important that is and how it's even more important to the small business and entrepreneur out there.
Let's put it this way. When somebody wants to hire you to work with them, it's because they have something that they wanted to have taken care of. They want something solved. You buy some training system. You want to learn whatever that training system is. They're working with you. They want to excel in their business. They're working with me. They have a price discussion they're working on. And when you charge too little money, or if you're afraid to charge what you're worth, what ends up happening is your customer doesn't believe you. So here's an example. I spoke at a conference last fall in Charlotte, North Carolina. I met a woman there. I was talking about media, also pricing too, but I met this woman who had a course to teach people about the book writing process. And she said she was going to charge like $25 for this book for the course. And she's like, it's like 10 modules and this and that and 10 hours of content. I said, I said to her, I was like, you got to be crazy. You got to be, I didn't say that actually. That's disrespectful. I said, you got to be kidding me. And I said, you got to be kidding me, because you put all this time and effort into it. And not to mention, I don't even know if anybody wants it, but just looking at the product as it sits. And so you put all this time and effort in there. The reality is, I don't believe that you can solve my problem for $25. I don't, because books, that's how much a book costs. And I still have to read it and then implement all the strategies. So if you're telling me that I got to pay, I'm only paying $25 just to get this system in order to get, to do my own book, go to the book process. And I told her, it's almost better. It's better off if you gave it to them for free and use it as a freebie, or charge what it's worth. Anything in between is a nightmare. And there's an amazing book called Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. I'm a huge fan of Dan Ariely. But anyways, in the book, he talks about the importance of pricing as it relates to like skilled labor. So here's an example. They did a study that they asked a bunch of lawyers to do some pro bono work, right, for some underprivileged people. They said no problem, because there's a social condition, a social norm for us to actually help other people. But if that same group of people offered them like $10 an hour to work, they got insulted and said, no, I don't want to take the job, right? Same amount, same kind of work. The difference was you diminished their value by offering them too little, right? Because in essence, they make about $100, $200 an hour. So it's the same thing happens on your side as a business owner. If you're not charging enough, on the flip side of that, your customers don't believe you can solve their problem. And the ones who nickel and dime you, those are the ones who tend to be a pain in the butt anyways.
I agree. I agree 100%. And it's a lesson that I learned the hard way as well. When I was for over a year now, especially through live stream and social media and so many different things, is I want entrepreneurs and small business owners out there to really hone in on this. And I think Ebong will really be able to highlight where I'm going with this. Guys, I had 0 products in the marketplace. 0. I didn't have a course. I didn't have a training. I didn't have a book. I had nothing. But yet I was truly able to go out and create a valuation of what I could now start charging, because I took the approach when watching and listening to guys like Ebong, that I knew that the only way that I would be able to create value, a value proposition for Matt in the marketplace, was I had to start showing a ability to solve problems first. So kind of expand for me, Ebong, on this. Is that, do you say that too many entrepreneurs and small business owners today, because it's now the new sexy, right? It's now the new it thing, that they're focused more on the product versus what the product can solve for the consumer?
Heck yeah. I mean, I did a whoever, depending on when people are listening and watching this, but I recently did a video about the importance of understanding strategy versus tactics, right? And too often we'll find thought leaders and people who are famous and people who are online and everything else, and people who write books and who have courses. And a lot of times, if you see what's being sold out there, and again, this is not disparaging anybody. It doesn't really matter to me. Like, it's fine. But when you watch this, what a lot of people are focusing on, they're focusing on the tactics and not necessarily the strategy. So they're like, I got to do my course this way. I got to do this. I got to use this system. And it kind of almost doesn't really matter, because if your course doesn't solve a problem for somebody, there's no way it can scale. So when you see people who are doing really well selling courses, some of the people we know and we've connected with, when you see them doing well with their course, there's something that's solving a problem. If someone's going to pay $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 for a course, right? They're not doing it because they had nothing else to do with the money. right? It's a conscious decision. And most likely they've been thinking about it for a long time before they take out their checkbook and their Visa card. So if that's the case, there's the pain that they currently have is far exceeds their ability to hold on to their money. Because if it wasn't that big of a deal, they say, I'm gonna hold on to the $2,000. So the bigger thing for you guys who are watching and listening is you want to focus on not so much the tactics of it, the strategy. And by strategy, I mean, what results do I want? What problem am I solving? Once you identify the problem you're solving, your customer starts to materialize. You know exactly what they want. You know the language they use. You know how they speak about their problem and what makes them upset. And then you can provide the solution by addressing specifically the things that they say.
Yeah, and guys, for those of you that are listening, once again, out there on iTunes, Podcast Republic, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, Matt Crane, host of the Power of Great podcast. We have small business and entrepreneurial go-to expert guru. But, man, we've got a great friend of mine, Mr. Ebong Eka, in the room. I want to give a big shout-out to our sponsors tonight, Rush Impact Auto, as well as the Smarter app. They help make this podcast possible. And, guys, so you're listening, once again, to some unbelievable information from Mr. Ebong Eka. And, Ebong, something that has just really intrigued me about what you do is that you make it look effortlessly. You really do. And it's because when I read your book, so kind of leading you into where I'm going with this. When I read your book was the very first book I have ever read from start to finish in one sitting.
Wow.
And it was because, for me, the information was so eloquently written so I could absorb it that I immediately was able to see exactly where I wanted to go with it. So walk us through that process. And, obviously I know it's not effortless for you, but especially for those people who are struggling right now with writing a book or struggling with those who maybe feel like they can't create content, walk us through, kind of that process of how you wrote that book and just how you were able to manifest it in such a way that so many people can extract it and then implement it in such a quick way into their business and their life.
Wow. You know what? I'm beyond humbled by that, man. It's like, it's emotional. Even to this day, when I get orders, people want to buy my book or tell me they read, I get emails from people all over the country or like some all over the world. Or like, I bought your book. It changed my life. Like I get emails like that once a week. And you don't understand. Like I literally, it's still to this point. It's been out for a year or two and I'm still emotional about it because I'm glad I'm able to have some positive effect. So there's two things I want to say. Creating content for whatever you do is easy. It is. In reality, it's easy. And then I'll talk about my book. But let me ask, but the content is simple because a lot of people struggle because they see it appears to be overwhelming. There's a lot of things I can talk about. I know everything. But this is what I've been able to do. I figured out what my niche is and who I am. And I talk about leadership. I talk about entrepreneurship. And I talk about motivation, but I always make sure I loop all those three together in some form or fashion with everything I talk about. And then I use, like you mentioned earlier, I use a story. So I can literally attach this, with a nail and a hammer to the tree of your brain, so you can actually look at it every single day. Okay, I remember when he said this and this is what it meant. And so that's why I use stories a lot. Now, when it came to writing the book, before I got this book deal, my literary agent, I had an opportunity to write a book for Amicom, which is the American Marketing Association, I think. It's one of the largest business book publishers. But they wanted me to write a book about accounting. And I said, absolutely not. I spent 2.5 years trying to get a book deal. And then I have a book deal. They're like, write a book about accounting. I said, absolutely not. I'm not interested. Forget it. And so then I ended up pitching this idea and they said no. And then I ended up getting another story. Then I ended up getting another publisher to say yes. So, to segue to your point, I wrote this in a way that it'd be more actionable. So the way I speak with stories, the way I speak with examples, to me, it's really important how I learn. I'm very visual. I see things. So when I'm describing something in any speech I give or a talk or even this, and I'm talking about the tree of your brain, I literally saw a tree with myself and a hammer, hammering a piece of paper to it. Like that's how I see. Every time I speak, I visually see words. So I wrote it in a way so that you can literally, I'm giving you the toolkit for it to be actionable. So there's so many books, a lot of books that we probably both have read that are almost so academic. And we believe that you have to be academic when you're writing a book. But my goal is to get you to read it and then do something with it. I don't really give a crap what else you do after that. I want you to use the book and do something with it so that it enriches your life. If I can't do that, you can sell 1 million books. I have always books anyway. You can sell 1 million of these books, but if nobody reads it, only person you've enriched is yourself. And so the thing that I hear feedback I hear from a lot of people is the fact that it's easy to read, it's easy to follow, and it's easy to implement. And that literally was my goal the whole dang time. And so what I did when I wrote it, I created an outline, very simple. I created an outline of how I wanted the chapters to be based on a flow. So after you read the first chapter, what was the next logical step? That's a question I asked myself every single time. What's the next logical step? Now, this is going to be for people who are watching. I know I'm speaking a little bit longer. I was time in my head, but I want to say this literally is the thing that help you write any content you want to create, any course you want to create, any upsells you want to have for your course. The simple point is this. Ask yourself this question. What is the next logical step that my customer, my reader, my audience will take after I say this? And if you do that every single time, you'll have a progression of your book. Your course will progress. Everything you're doing will progress. So everything that I have and I share with the audience is to say this, and all of a sudden the next logical step is this. And then I give them a roadmap or a toolkit or a guide that they can follow. So look at it this way. You use your phone for Waze and you're driving and whatever, it will tell you in about 100 feet, take a right. You feel comfort in that, right? In 1,000 feet, take a left and there'll be a turn and take a sharp right, right? But you feel comfort in knowing that what the next step is going to be. And so that's my goal when I wrote it. To say when you read the first chapter, then this is going to be the next step. You're like, okay, cool. I don't have to figure this out by myself. He's helping me along the way. And that's kind of how I wrote it. So if you want to write a book, create an outline and think about what the next logical steps are, that at the end of the book, someone should be able to do X, Y, and Z. And that's your book right there. And that could be a course, that could be a content, that could be everything.
You know, guys, and here's what I really want everybody to get from what he just said. He didn't have to say it, but I hope you got it. Is that if you want to write a nonfiction book, then keep not doing anything. But the reasons why guys like Ebong can outline books and create content and can really put them in a way that's next logical steps is because he's writing a book not based on fiction. He's writing a book based on real life activity. And you hear him say this all the time. If you're going to do something, do it in massive quantities. And, you know, that's something that I've really taken a chapter out of. And guys, you know, is that I've cranked it up 10 notches. And because of that, it's like all these different opportunities opened up. And what I wanted to really get from you, Ebong, there, and I want to thank you for really dropping that on our audience base, is that writing a book is not something that everyone can do, but that everyone is already doing every single day if you're living your life to the max. Yep. So, you know, that's something that I really love. And that's, guys, if you have not gotten this book, just, you know, start me up, the No Business Plan business plan. I'm going to tell you, it completely changed the complexity of how I looked at so many things. Because at the time, Ebong, when you and I hooked up with that book, I was working for state and local governments, you know, helping open up small business development office and doing everything from a standardized process. Okay. And just watching so many people just give me the blank stare look. And so in a way, your book was a catalyst that allowed me the opportunity to go to more advanced thinkers that I was working with and show them alternative ways to not take their focus off their business and still be able to create action items that have now helped them sustain long-term success. So, you know, as we wrap up the show, guys, I really want to say thank you once again to each and every one of you out there on iTunes, Podcast Republic, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud. You've been live with us on the Power of Great podcast. And before we get my man Ebong Eka out of the room, I want to ask you, what's up next for you, my friend?
You know what? I'm working on a few media things. I'm in the middle of trying to do either some radio and TV projects potentially. I have nothing really to report, but that's kind of like I'm putting it out there because that's kind of in the works. And then I'm in the middle of writing my second book based on leadership. And I don't have a title yet, but the whole goal is to remind people that we all can be leaders. You have to stop asking for permission. A lot of times people ask for permission to lead a group, right? And you're bestowed that upon you. We don't need to have that to lead. Lead yourself, your community, your group, team, whatever. And then in addition to releasing my pricing. My pricing webcast that people have access to after they get the freebie and learn a little bit more about raising their prices. I go in depth for 3 to 4 hours to train a lot of small business owners. I had 60 plus on my live webinar, and then finally I'm opening up Economics Academy. Not yet, probably in the next week or so. It's Economics Academy. I focus only on 30 businesses. I work closely with 30 businesses over 6 weeks. Who are in the service space to help them go through the process of identifying their products, their services, their pricing, the systems, and then eventually the selling mechanism to sell them. So that's kind of it. It's a lot of stuff.
I love that. Last question. So guys, if you haven't already, at Ebong Eka, you definitely want to get to social media. You definitely want to follow this guy, but you also want to get to ebongeka.com or economics.com. And we'll make sure that we get those live up on our Facebook pages as well as our other social medias. But Ebong, so really quick before we roll, I know you're going to work with 30 businesses, and I'm probably going to be throwing my name in the hat when it comes to that academy. But tell our audience and tell those entrepreneurs and those small businesses out there just how important it is to have a coach, to have a mentor, and to have somebody that's going to be able to be myopic for you so you can get focused on the bigger picture.
You can't live on an island. You need to have other people to give you input. And I don't care, why the idea of wise counsel has been around for centuries, probably thousands of years, and people have always found wisdom from other people. So in essence, on your entrepreneurial journey, it's important to find people who are doing what you want to do, who may or may not be further along based on what your needs are. But you also have to remember to bring value to that person. So too many people, I meet a lot of people. Again, part of the emails I get are because of this book. Some of the emails I get for things that have seen me in. But a lot of emails I get are about asking me to be people's mentors. And it's just like, can I be your mentor? Can you be my mentor? And the reality is this. You have to try and figure out how to bring value to that person, because as you start to grow in your life and your business, your time is limited. And so if someone's coming to you and they're going to spend time with you, they're getting something out of it, and either they're getting enjoyment, they want to share their knowledge, but they can't share their knowledge with every single person. So if you're looking for a mentor, one of the things to think about is, how can I help that person? What does that person want that I can provide? And you'd be surprised. It could be anything. It can be, and you literally can provide so much to them if you just ask and figure out what that is. But you have to find somebody to help you along the path. Right? You can't just drive down the street without signs and a roadmap and using your phone for Waze. Other than that, you're screwed. You'll be lost. You'll get there eventually, but you may miss out on your blessing because you took too long, because you wanted to do it your way.
Well, guys, I tell you what another amazing episode of The Power of Great. You've been live with your boy, Matt Crane, the host of The Power of Great, and we come here every single week. We bring you guests. We bring you individuals. We bring you the most powerful people on planet Earth that truly understand that their current situation is not their defining moment. We want to encourage you. We want to help you. But more importantly, we want you to show that you don't have to have a big bank account. You don't have to have a fancy car. And you certainly don't have to have that Harvard or prestigious degree to truly grab the world by the reins and go after everything you want to go after. We've had my man Ebong Eka on the show, and I want to tell you what, guys, he delivered the goods like nobody's business. Once again, my name is Matt Crane, Power of Great. I want you guys to go out today, harness the power that you already possess, and go and achieve the great that's waiting for you to take it.